This is Rolf Yungclas, and I'm speaking out in the September 8th, 2010 edition of the Haskell County Monitor Chief, Sublette, Kansas. Some people, such as Richard Cloward and Francis Fox Piven, in a 1966 article, have advocated flooding the welfare rolls to bring our economy to the point of collapse, requiring greater government control of things to resolve the problem. Michael Reich and Janice Andrews wrote that Cloward and Piven proposed to create a crisis in the current welfare system by exploiting the gap between welfare law and practice that would ultimately bring about its collapse and replace it with a system of guaranteed annual income. Whether or not there are people in government today who actually advocate that, this is in effect the road the Obama administration and the leaders in the legislative branch of the federal government are on. It is dangerous as burgeoning government, while at first appearing to be nothing worse than a benign, ineffective system, actually paves the way for an authoritarian system where government control is increasingly in the hands of fewer and fewer people. I warned about Barack Obama's agenda of socialist redistribution of wealth a few weeks before the presidential election in 2008, and that is exactly the agenda the Obama administration has pursued in the 20 months since he took office. These policies have no financial foundation other than to tax the rich more, or continue the dangerous course of putting this nation deeper and deeper in debt. Every goal of this administration requires more and more funding and more layers of government bureaucracy. In the meantime, the president offers up Oz like "don't look behind the curtain" statements, as he, in his childish ridicule of his opponents, tries to blame everything wrong with this country on the failed policies of the Bush administration. Then, when his political opponents present alternative policies to his, such as limited government, downsizing the burgeoning government bureaucracy, cutting spending to reduce budget deficits, he arbitrarily lumps these policies in among the, quote, failed policies. This, it is argued, leaves his own, what I call reckless, policies as the only legitimate ones the American people should consider. In the category of failed policies of the Bush administration, we should realize that the economy was doing fairly good before the Democrats got the majority back in the House and Senate. The lost decade? President Obama actually has called it that. Unemployment under 5%, I recall. There was an amazing economic recovery from the shock of 9/11 in 2002. Remember how the stock market dropped so much as a reaction to the consequences of 9/11? It took a while, but it amazingly recovered. When Congress made it their goal to turn owning a house into a right everyone should have, that is when things were being set up to go sour. Lenders being forced to loan money to people who didn't have the ability to pay it back is what led to the subprime mortgage fiasco. That was the free market's way of dealing with severe government intrusion into the economic process. It set off an undercurrent of illegitimate activity, which led to the government bailout of financial institutions. If anyone is pursuing the failed policies of the Bush administration, it is the current administration and Congress under the Democrats. The failed policies of corporate welfare on steroids, under the guise of helping out the little guy against big business. The failed policies of spending money the government does not have to prop up businesses who are about to go under. The failed policies of passing legislation that makes it harder and harder for businesses to grow and begin hiring more people. The failed policies of increasing people's dependency on government rather than promoting self-initiative. When President Obama says the Republicans don't have any alternative plan, he means they don't have an alternative way of micromanaging our country into a deeper mess, like they are doing. In the coming weeks, I plan to show some things that can be done to change this disastrous course of our government and help renew the American dream, to use the words of President Obama. But while he speaks of renewing the American dream, he and his administration and congressional leaders are actually in the process of turning the American dream into a nightmare.